It's Rob and Brent and my Reggie dude, and don't forget it also features Dawson too. We gonna give you all the dope reviews, but first we'll hit on all the movie news. Cha-ching, cha-ching, box office due. In between the news and the reviews, there's not a lot that we don't do, so turn the volume up, cause we coming through. Put your headphones on and tie your shoes. Jackman and Grant, we got all the views. We're like Brando in Godfather 2. We're gonna make a podcast you can't refuse. This is the Cinema Chat Podcast, and we know a lot about movies. Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's another episode of Cinema Chat Podcast with Rob and Brent and Reggie, featuring Dawson. I'm Brent.
I'm Rob.
I'm Reggie.
And I'm featuring Dawson.
Rob's back, baby. He's back. You
and
know
he nailed
it.
it like a fucking pro.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if he's been gone 2 weeks, 6 months, 8 years. Fucking professional. Right here, back in the saddle. He's got it going. What's up, Rob? We missed you.
Hey, glad to be back. I miss you guys too.
All
and
right.
I'm glad that everybody's hanging in there, and it's good to be back.
Yeah.
Merry New Year, everyone. We haven't seen you since our Christmas episode. Merry New Year. This week
Merry
we're going
New
to
Year.
talk about Wonder Woman 1984, which is available in theaters and on HBO Max. But before we get there, I have a question to ask you guys. And Rob, whenever we get into this, you're going to go first because the clip demands it.
Oh boy.
What did we watch this week? Let us give you a peek. We'll get to the news real soon. First, listen to this little tune. Give us the attention we seek while we tell you what we watched this week. Tell them, Rob. What did you see? Tell them. They want to know. They want to know, Rob. What did you see this week?
I started watching the 5th and final season of The Expanse
Ooh.
on Amazon Prime.
Hmm.
I don't know if you guys have heard of that show or
Yes.
or aware of it.
Yeah, I've heard about it through you and Reggie. I've never watched it. So
I watched the first episode and I need to get back into it, but first episode I was kind of like, I don't know about this. I don't know where they're going here.
wait, you watched the first episode of season 5?
Oh, the new season.
Oh,
of The
okay.
Expanse.
The way you said that, I was like, I watched the first episode of it, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I need to get back into it. Like, wait, I thought you've been watching this show for like 4 seasons. How deep into season 5 are you, Rob?
I'm up to date. They just dropped another episode today. So after this, I'm probably going to go watch it before I go to bed.
Oh, so they're on the Boys Mandalorian schedule.
Yeah. Yeah,
Gotcha.
one episode a week. I think this is episode 4 of this season.
Nice.
And they usually do about 10 or 12 episodes per season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anything
it's a
else?
sci-fi show that started out on the Sci-Fi Channel way back when, and then it got canceled, and then Amazon picked it up and then kept it going. But this is like the final season for them.
Oh, is it? Oh, that
Yeah.
sucks.
Oh, Netflix is the only people. They're the only people that drop shows when people love them, right, Reggie?
Well, I mean, I haven't read the books, but
I'm sure they're better anyways.
The books are always better.
I'm
Dawson.
sure the books, but here's the thing: what The Expanse does in one season, some shows don't do in their whole run. So, like this being their final season, I can expect some amazing greatness. So I don't know, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to actually get into it and really take the time to sit down and watch it.
Did you just say you were expecting amazing greatness?
Yes.
That seems like a
Amazing
lot.
greatness.
It seems like a lot to live up to for that show. Amazing greatness.
No, I think it's so good that like it will live up to it.
All right. Anything
Probably
else?
one of my favorite sci-fi shows ever to exist.
That's high praise. Well, I mean, how many great sci-fi shows are there?
All the Star Trek, Firefly, BSG,
Mandalorian.
Doctor Who.
SG, Stargate, Doctor Who.
God, you fucking nerds. God, what's wrong with you guys? Why don't you drop a gif of your favorite anime in here right now?
Did you guys talk about the season finale of The Mandalorian last week?
We talked about that we
I don't-
watched it. We didn't
Yeah.
talk about specifics. Because we didn't want to spoil anything for people that hadn't watched it. But yeah, we all watched it. And it was amazing. It was amazing greatness.
It was amazing greatness.
Yeah.
I don't know how they kept that a secret, honestly. It's pretty big.
No, they're
pretty
really
big
good
stuff.
at that. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty big
Mhm.
stuff.
But what I'm disappointed about is that I'm gonna happy and disappointed that we're not gonna get the Mandalorian exactly 1 year like we from the previous season like we have been, because they're gonna do like that miniseries first, and then they're gonna do the other series, the regular season 3
Yeah.
of the Mandalorian.
Yeah. I mean, good things come to those that can wait. Patience is a virtue and all that bullshit. Let's go clockwise. Reggie, what did you watch this week?
What did I watched this Alison Brie horror movie called
Horse Girl?
no, the Raven? No, not Raven. Rental. The Rental. These people rent this Airbnb and shit starts to go bad. It was interesting. It wasn't interesting. It was boring. Not worth watching.
It was interesting. It's a good way to say it sucked.
Yeah, it just wasn't good. Like they tried. But then I watched on your recommendation, Freaky. Great recommendation.
Told you.
It was much better than I thought it was gonna be. Like Vince Vaughn, because I'm not a big Vince Vaughn fan, but dude killed it. It was a fun movie. Kind of reminded me of Happy Death Day. Like it was that kind of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I watched also Love Actually for the first time. And I gotta say, I was disappointed that I've never seen this before. It was so good. Like, it's a movie that's been hyped up so much, and it lives up to the hype.
We're checking off all of the big Christmas shame movies that you had this year.
Right.
Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way.
Man.
Oh, I actually watched Jim Carrey's The Grinch, too. So that's another one I can check off my list.
Oh, you hadn't seen that?
No.
Dude, that's the best version of The Grinch.
No, it is not.
Yeah, it is.
Benedict Cumberbatch is better.
Okay. No, the original.
Whoa! Hot
What are you
take.
talking about?
Benedict
I've seen the movie
Cumberbatch.
so many times.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
My kid loves that movie.
Dude, your
Oh,
kid.
accounting for taste.
Your kid has no taste, bro.
You
I
need
can't
to
show her
work
the
on
stuff
that.
I want to show.
That's bad
She
parent.
also loves Klaus on
Bad,
Netflix.
that's
Have you seen
bad
that,
parenting,
Reggie?
bro.
No, I have not.
You haven't seen Klaus?
No.
I know we're out of Christmas season, but you need to watch that movie. It's the best Christmas movie of all time.
Technically, it's Christmas season now.
Well, watch it. You
Wait.
should watch it.
Liturgically,
What?
it's technically Christmas season now. We just left Advent. If you want to. Get technical.
Oh, you're talking about fantasy. Okay.
Oh wow!
Hmm.
Rude.
Um.
But really, watch
I'm
Klaus.
I'm
It's on
kidding.
Netflix. It's a
I'm
Netflix
kidding.
original animated. It's a cartoon.
Ugh.
And it's all about kind of like how Santa Claus got started and like the idea of it and how it transforms a town that's just
Mhm.
this rotten town. It's really good. My kid loves it. I've seen it like 4 times this week.
Listen, we all know the animation's inferior storytelling. Don't come in here recommending cartoons to people. It's for children.
It is a children's movie.
Just leaning right into that stereotype. Reggie, the thing that I like most about Freaky is I think it strikes just the right amount of balance between the horror and the comedy. Like the horrific elements were much darker than I expected them to be. And then the comedy is less than I expected it to be. I think it's a pretty good balance between them. So I knew you would like it. It was just a matter of whether or not I could get you to watch it. After I disappointed you with Crawl, I wasn't sure you would take my recommendation.
Yeah, but it was good. I hope there's a sequel. I don't know if they could do one, but I'm sure they can find a way.
I mean, it's a fucking movie. Of course they can find a way.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it makes sense, Reggie.
Mm.
If it makes dollars, it makes sense, right? All right,
Right.
Dawson, what'd you watch this week?
I watched Letterkenny season 9. I watched that on
Nice.
Monday.
To be fair,
To be fair, I love that show. It's on Hulu. It's only 7 episodes, 20 minutes piece, so it took like 2 hours, 3 hours. And then I also watched The Midnight Sky. It's a sci-fi movie on Netflix original, starring George Clooney and a bunch of other people. I think this is more of a Reggie type of sci-fi movie than a me type of sci-fi movie. I feel like there's a lot of things in it that I've already seen. There's elements of like The Martian, and there's elements of other movies that I've seen already sci-fi wise. So it wasn't anything new. But I did almost pass out / throw up from a scene in the movie. I just don't there's certain times I don't handle blood well at all in certain scenarios, and I've never really seen 0G blood like this before, and that didn't sit well with me, so I had to look away.
That might not be a Reggie movie then.
dude.
It's like it's not like a sci-fi horror movie. It's like
Yeah.
she gets hit in outer. So there's like they're out doing a spacewalk, and there's
Mhm.
debris flying, and it like hits her, and then it just like you can see it like coming up her suit, and then she takes off her helmet, and it just
Oh!
and I'm like, oh, and they're like, that's a lot of blood, and I'm like, that is a lot of blood. And I'm like, whoa.
The way he originally told this story to me had me. I was cracking. It was a text message, and I was cracking up reading it because he said it happened, and he thought, "Oh man, that's a lot of blood." And right after he thought it, one of the characters said, "That's a lot of blood," and I can imagine, like, if you're already thinking, "Oh man, that's a lot of blood," and then a character says it on screen, you're like, "Oh god,
Right.
it is. It is. I was right.
It is-
It
it's more than I
confirmed.
thought.
Suspicions confirmed. It's a lot of blood." Anything
yeah,
else?
I mean, it's an alright movie. No, I didn't really watch anything else.
I think you did, because the one thing that I watched, I've been playing a lot of video games these last couple of weeks and not watching a lot of TV and movies.
Mhm.
But the one thing that I did watch was on Dawson's recommendation. It was that Netflix thing. It was like the
Oh,
fake
yeah.
documentary on
Yeah.
2020. What's that called?
Yes. Death to
2020?
2020.
Death to 2020. It's fantastic.
It
I
is.
literally just finished it before we hopped on here.
It's
It
fantastic.
is so good.
It's so good. It's a faux documentary done by the people that made Black Mirror, and they got a bunch of big name actors, Sam Jackson, a bunch of people in it to play parts. And while it is a fake documentary and they say things in jest, it's like it is a legitimately like serious look back on what 2020 was,
Mhm.
with a bit of a comedic twist to it. It's actually it's actually a pretty good documentary if you want a recap of what this last year's been and you want to be able to laugh at some of the ridiculous shit that has happened along the way. So I would recommend that. I think I wouldn't say everyone would enjoy it, but I think the majority of people would enjoy it. And then I also watched another thing you told me to watch, Dawson. I'm just remembering. And I can't remember the name of this one. It's like that comedian that does, it's like 15-second episodes, and he talks really, really fast.
I talked about it last week. Schultz Saves America.
Schultz Saves America. I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
And no matter what side of the aisle you're on, he'll say something that'll irritate you. So, so buckle up, join the ride. But those are the things that I watched this week. I just been playing a lot of Fall Guys. NBA 2K21. Got a lot going on.
I'm averaging 40 points a game.
Those are rookie numbers. You got to pump those up.
Whatever.
All right. Are we ready to get into movie news?
Yeah, let's get into the movie news.
Movie news.
Cindy, the news is on.
Insightful.
Good news.
If the headline is big enough, it makes the news big enough.
Timely.
The news goes on for 24 hours a day.
Well prepared.
You like Huey Lewis on the news?
Well, I got some bad news for you.
Do you want the Aladdin news or the Aladdin news?
The Aladdin news?
This is movie news. All right, we don't have a ton this week. I didn't really go out of my way to pull a bunch of stories. Most of it has to do with Warner Brothers and HBO Max. But the first story we have has nothing to do with that. There is a Creed 3 in the works. We've known about that. You know, Ryan Coogler wrote and directed the first two Creed movies. And as it turns out, Tessa Thompson let it, announced, so to speak, that Michael B. Jordan is going to be directing Creed 3. I don't know how I feel about that. I really liked the first Creed. I love the first Creed movie. In the second one, I enjoy it, but it was an inferior film to the first one. I don't know if, first of all, I don't know if Michael B. Jordan's ever directed anything. And if he hasn't, I don't know that this is where you start. But, I'm sure he's going to have Stallone on set. Maybe it's a good atmosphere for him to get his foot through the door. I don't know. But how often does the whole director and star of the movie, how often does that work? It's worked for Affleck a few times. But other than that, how often does that work?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
I mean, I know there are times I'm having trouble thinking of one. I wish I had done a little research.
Got a bunch.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that have, critically done well.
Yes. And Ben Affleck, like I said, has several that he directed and was the star in that were good. But, there have been other examples.
Bradley Cooper.
Yes.
Denzel Washington.
Wait, what did they direct?
Who?
Bradley Cooper and Denzel.
Bradley Cooper directed. I don't know. I just typed it in Google quick.
Did he?
John Krasinski? Does he count?
Yeah, John.
Oh yeah, that counts. Did Bradley Cooper direct A Star Is Born?
That makes sense.
Let me do it.
I pulled it up his shit right now.
Yeah, but he wasn't really the lead in that, though.
He did.
Yeah.
He directed A Star Is Born.
I mean, he's the male lead
yeah.
in that. He's definitely. I mean, it's him and Gaga for sure.
Yeah, but she was the lead and he was the support.
But if you have a leading actor and a leading actress, he was nominated for Best Actor.
Okay.
He wasn't nominated for Best Supporting Actor. So I think that counts. Okay, so maybe there's more than I thought.
Denzel did Antoine. Well, I don't know if he was in that, but he was Fences. I think he was in Fences.
Yeah, he was in Fences.
That was
he directed that.
That was Academy Award nominated.
I'll go here. Number one on this list has Orson Welles, Charlie Chaplin, Clint Eastwood, Buster Keaton, Takeshi Kitano, Woody Allen.
Who's that, Reggie?
Jackie Chan.
Takeshi
Jerry
Kitano?
Lewis.
I have no clue.
I thought you knew all those Asian directors.
He's
and
a huge
actors.
actor, a TV and comedy star in Japan.
Come on, Reggie. What if you don't know that? What are you here for?
1989's Violent Cop. I mean, I thought you grew up in Japan.
Takeshi.
He allegedly grew up, and he's about to get. He's about to get his Japan card pulled.
Okay, I do know who Takeshi Kitano is. I did not know he was a director.
Oh,
dude, I was about to pull your Japan card from you.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So
he was also in a movie that we reviewed recently, Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh, is he the dude with the laser thing?
No, he's the boss.
Oh, okay. Is he the one that you said was the big Japanese, like Massive Japanese actor?
Yeah.
Okay. Not yet. Okay.
He's huge Japanese actor. Reggie doesn't even know his fucking name. Oh, he's massive. He's a huge star. Biggest star in this movie. What's his name? Oh, I don't know. I heard that movie made. I heard that movie.
2020.
I heard that movie made more than Jingle All the Way in 1994. That's a joke from Cutting Room Floor, our Patreon only podcast at patreon.com/cinemachatpodcast. All right. But what do you guys think about him directing Creed 3? Are you indifferent? I know Reggie's indifferent.
I'm indifferent because
it's a sports movie.
It's a sports movie.
I mean, I get it. I wouldn't care if what's his name, that huge Japanese actor, was directing the newest anime that was coming out. I wouldn't give a shit. So I get that.
I'll say this: I like Michael B. Jordan. I'm a big fan of, and I hope. I guess my only, he should do whatever he feels inclined to do, and I'll support him either way. But I don't want to lose him as an actor to him as a director, even if he is great, because I don't know, you could do both, but he's such a great actor. I hope we still see him in other things.
I can't imagine that anyone with that sort of acting career, especially at his young age, to have that sort of catalog and career. I can't imagine that no matter how good he is as a director, we're not going to lose him from acting, I don't think. Because like you said, we just went through a whole list of people that have been able to do both. And if he's good enough to do both, he should. And if he wants to direct and not act, he should do that too, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see a scenario where he is so good at directing that he no longer wants to act.
What if he's the next Christopher Nolan?
Well, if he's the next Christopher Nolan, he can quit acting, because all I care about is the stories he tells. I don't need to see Christopher Nolan on screen, I'll tell you that. I love Michael B. Jordan. I'm looking forward to Creed 3 just because I like the Rocky movies. I like the Creed movies. I like Michael B. Jordan. I don't know if he'll be a good director, but I'm interested to find out. I'm always an advocate for people doing new things, stepping out of their comfort zones and whatnot. So, I don't know. Hopefully he's good. Hopefully it turns out well.
Mm-hmm.
We have, like I said, everything else we have has to do with Warner Brothers. And I don't really know what order to do this in, but Legendary reportedly wants $250 million from Warner Brothers for Godzilla vs. Kong's HBO Max movie release. Reportedly, Legendary financed 75% of the movie. So, I don't know. I mean, and our next story sort of dovetails into this, and we'll talk about this, but it feels like more and more dominoes are falling to prove the fact that we said just a couple weeks ago, we're not going to get all of these movies on HBO Max. Regardless of what they said, by the end of 2021, we're only going to have a percentage of these movies that get released on HBO Max. I don't know what that percentage is, but it's not going to be 100. And if Legendary wants to push Warner Brothers' hand, and they finance 75% of it. And Warner Brothers has a significant relationship with Legendary. You know, who balks at that? Who's the first one to swerve in that game of chicken, right?
Is it the same situation with the Dune movie?
Well, that's our next story, because Warner Brothers is considering moving Dune to a theatrical-only release to, quote, preserve its franchise, its ability to create a franchise. Like, releasing on HBO Max prohibits them from making it into a franchise for some reason. I guess because they won't make enough money for it to make it. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, Dawson.
Well, I mean, that's bullshit, because after the great reception of Wonder Woman 84, they decided to sign Patty Jenkins back for Wonder Woman 3. So you'll hear more about that in our review this afternoon or this evening. But
or whenever you're listening, it might be the morning, it might be middle of the night. We don't know. Whenever you're listening,
I'm talking to you, Daggard. You're listening to this in the shower or something.
I mean, like I said, Legendary wants all this money. They're already talking about, like, it's not even 2021 yet when we're recording this. Dune isn't until October, and they're already like, maybe this HBO Max thing isn't going to be good for this movie. So I can't imagine they get to July and they're still... I think we'll know by July whether or not the movies in the second half of the year are going to be hitting HBO Max. I don't think they have enough data yet to tell them what they should do. So I don't know.
You know what? I think this has less or almost nothing to do with like any potential data, or I think this is them saving face with their content creators and directors and stuff, because those people, like, a lot of them found out like an hour before that their movies were coming to HBO Max, and people were like, this is not how you treat directors. There was talks of class action lawsuits. So I think this is just them backpedaling because they have no other choice but to do that. Because if they don't, then they might be in a position where people aren't going to want to work with them.
Well, I think it was Sony. The head of Sony came out, I think it was Sony, and said that they had been contacted by multiple studios that were looking to form a partnership to work with Sony in lieu of working with Warner Brothers. So, we kind of touched on that a couple of weeks ago too. Like, they've done a shitty job of maintaining this relationship with their creators and their actors, their directors, the studios that they're working with to produce these films. And at some point, it's shit or get off the pot. Like, these people aren't going to want to work with them anymore if they treat them poorly. And there are other studios that will welcome some of these projects onto their books.
Mm-hmm.
And Warner Brothers, you're only as good as the people that will work with you, right? Because at the end of the day, like, these people are freelancers. And if they don't want to work with, if everyone binds together and, I know it's unrealistic to think everyone wouldn't want to work with Warner Brothers, but if enough people did, that would hamper Warner Brothers immensely moving forward. So yeah, they have to do some sort of damage control at this point, I think.
Do you think that the smaller studios want to work with Sony because they don't have a streaming service like the other big studios do?
No, I don't. I mean, I guess that's a possibility, but I think that they would have the same concern of one of the larger, what I think could potentially happen is Netflix or Prime or Hulu, someone's going to be looking to sign exclusive deals with, if movies start going streaming with cinematic releases, these other streaming services that don't produce these major films are going to want to swoop in and lock up a Blumhouse or lock up a Sony, these slightly smaller studios that don't have their own streaming services. I think eventually they find a home with someone. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a ways off. I don't think that's 2021 shit. I think that's several years down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you don't have a streaming service with your studio, I think there will be services lining up to sort of say, hey, let us get exclusive rights to the streaming of your movie whenever it releases. I think that that's the next logical step in this scenario. And I think that directors and other, studios are smart enough to see that that's where they're heading. I don't think that just because Sony doesn't have a streaming service means that their movies are going to be safe from the streaming release type deal. But I do think there might be something to that, because it wasn't Disney coming out saying people wanted to work with them. It wasn't, who else has a streaming service? Universal? Peacock? Wasn't Universal coming out and saying people wanted to work with them? So, I don't know. I mean, there could be something to that, I guess. But I think that if this model winds up sticking around, and I'm starting to wonder whether or not the pushback from the people actually making the films, the creators, is enough to sort of help maybe not bring theaters back to prominence that they once held, but keep them alive at least. Because it was doom and gloom, and I just don't know. Like, if people, it would take every studio saying, like, this is what we're gonna do to make this work, and I don't know if it's feasible for every studio to make it make sense financially.
I think directors and the people making these movies are not reading the room well enough. And I don't think that they're seeing, it kind of feels like people who are investing money in, investing stock in, and buying stock in Blockbuster, like 2 years after Netflix came out, because I just think, I don't think we're ever going to go back to where movies are. Because, I drive by this theater every day for work, and this theater's been in business for close to 60 years, and they just closed their doors because people aren't, because of COVID and all that. And it's not like, I think there are more businesses like that. I mean, this was a premier theater. Like, they had some of the, I guess, cutting edge technology, if you want to call it that, in theater tech, the theater experience, the dining, that luxury dining thing. And then they had what's it called? 4D, where like
the seats move and shit.
Seats moved and stuff like that, and all, I mean, granted they got that in 2019, then COVID happened, and, but still they closed. And the AMC near me, it doesn't open till like 6 on the weekdays, and then they're only open for a couple of hours, showing a few shows. So, I mean, we are seeing a point with the vaccine and everything where, things are going to get back to what we consider normal in 2021. But even that, we're not looking to summer. And even then, we can't get everyone, to take the vaccine. So I just don't know I don't know how willing people are going to be to go and sit in the middle of a movie theater come next year.
Well, I'm not even saying the middle of 2021 or whatever. Like, I'm not putting a timetable on it, because we just don't know. But I think, you're talking about them not reading the room properly, and I'm thinking more long term than necessarily just the next 6 months or so. What I'm saying is, like, if they continue down this path into 2022, you're still going to have the same fight with people until studios and streaming services make it financially make sense for the people that are making the movies. Because you're not hearing Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot bitch about this, because they just got paid their dividends like the movie made $1.1 billion. But but they're not going to do that for everyone. And the people that they're not doing it for are looking at it and saying, hey, I make more money if this gets released theatrically, whether or not that's now or a year from now. I make more money off of this work that I've done if it gets released theatrically. And whether or not that makes sense, I don't want them to force people back into the theaters. You know where I stand on all that shit. But I think that that's the root of the thing. Like people want their money, and I don't know how you can get around that without some major changes in payment structures and stuff like that. And I just, they haven't gone down that road yet. And unless there's some major overhaul with the way they do these things, it's not going to be attractive for filmmakers and actors to work on movies that get released on HBO Max, which isn't even available internationally.
But I wonder then what the alternative is. Do they just get out of acting? Like if that's the way that studios decide to release movies, and that's how you have to do it, unless movies go independent like music or something.
Well, and see, that's what I'm saying. Like, it takes every studio saying, like, this is what we're going to do. But if a studio doesn't have a deal with a streaming service or whatever, and theaters still exist in some format, like, I don't think the demand will always be there, but I do think that the amount of money you can bring in from a theatrical release is probably more than you'll get from selling it to a streaming service for middle of the road movies. Maybe special deals can be made for a blockbuster movie, or maybe some movies like Endgame. Like, is that too big? The potential earnings from that, is that too big to go to a streaming service? I don't know. We haven't had any movies like that. Wonder Woman's not that big. Wonder Woman's big. It's not that big. So
I also bet that it just means that people start making movies for less.
Oh yeah, 100%. Budgets will go down. Production value will go down, but you'll see people get creative in how they spend their money too. I think there's a lot of bloat in these movie budgets, and I think that they'll find that there's a lot that they can cut out if they choose to do so. I just hope it doesn't result in a dip in quality of production moving forward. But maybe we get more interesting ideas. Yeah. So we'll see. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was, what the fuck was DC doing? They're talking about releasing 6 movies every year, 4 theatrically and 2 on HBO Max every year. What?
No one's ever attempted it.
For good reason, Dawson.
Yeah, exactly.
What are they thinking? They can't make a movie correctly, let alone 6 movies. I don't even own a gun. What do I need with a gun rack?
It's got to be fluff. There's no way they can do it.
Not only that, but I saw that and I was like, I thought it was some sort of Screen Rant clickbait. I'm like, there's no way that this is for real.
I won't stand for the Screen Rant. Hatred.
Because, like, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know how they think they're going to do that.
They can't. They can't do that. But I will say this. I was talking to Dawson about this last night. If they start making 4 theatrical movies every year and 2 HBO Max movies every year that deal with lesser characters, because that's what they've said, like, they're not going to do it with their major characters. They'll do it for, like, side characters. I would bet you that those HBO Max movies are better than the movies that get released in theaters. Because they're not going to have the same oversight. They're not going to have the same budget. They're not going to have the same oversight. It's going to be people making movies that they want to make. And I think it's going to be better because they won't have as much meddling. And it'll be fresh characters that we haven't seen a dozen times. Characters that haven't been tainted by the last 8 shitty movies that DC has put out. I think that I'm excited for the potential of lesser known characters getting HBO Max movies, but not in addition to 4 other theatrical releases. Like, they need to get out of this world building shit. Like, they talked about all of the characters existing in this on Earth 1, and then this Robert Pattinson Batman movie's on Earth 2. So it's in a completely different universe from the rest of them, which I like. How many Earths can we get? Can we put them all on different Earths?
I feel like they have to, because there's been Batman. There's how many iterations of Batman, right? So that's your. Oh, well, this guy was in this one, and this one was in this one. And how many versions of Joker? And
the multiverse has always been a big thing with DC, so I'm glad that we're kind of getting that. Which means the only problem is, I think we're going to get to a point where people are going to be like, when a movie comes out, well, what Earth is this? And, it's like, oh, this is an Earth 1 movie, I'm not going to see it. Or you create your own brand confusion, because like, how many people asked, why weren't the X-Men in Infinity War? And you explain to them, well, Fox owns some X-Men, and people are like, but aren't the X-Men Marvel? So like, there's that confusion. Now imagine doing that with your own characters, And on top of it, one of the big problems is, I mean, this is something that we talked about, but they need to fix their own universe before they try and do this. I think I said walk before you crawl. And because like, even within their own universe, we don't know how like a Wonder Woman movie fits in with a Aquaman movie if they're all on the same Earth, because Aquaman was set after Justice League, but then there were parts of the movie that had to have been set before Justice League within its own, so like their whole crap is a mess, and I wish they would fix it before they tried this 6-movie thing. The only thing I can think is that some of those 6 movies might be animated. And if that's the case, then it's not purporting to be what they're acting like it is.
Well, how many animated movies do they already make every year?
They make about 2 or 3 a year.
Which are allegedly better than everything live action on the face of the planet.
Not allegedly, objectively, factually, scientifically, in every way it can be.
Get out of here.
Mathematically.
Get out of here. Rob, where you stand on this?
I was happy when they made that announcement where they said that Warner Bros. Was going to release all their movies on HBO Max. I was like, yeah, go with the times. We don't know how long this pandemic is going to last. Even if they're rolling out a vaccine, it's still going to be like some kind of turnover period, which could probably take either half of 2021 or even the whole year. So, I mean, having that content someplace where it can be consumed and make the Warner Brothers money, I was all for it. But then, like, when you have the other studios that have a large portion invested, like Legendary, saying that, hey, no, we don't want that. We want theatrical release. Well, they're like thinking like this is all gonna turn around, like this is only a 2020 issue. Next year it's gonna be gone and theaters are gonna be wide open, and it's back to business as normal. And I don't think that's gonna be the case. And I think that they're being very short-sighted in thinking that everything's gonna be back to normal next year. That's just not smart thinking. I think if they wanted to be smart, they would have been wholeheartedly, yeah, let's do that. Or jump onto one of the other streaming services, maybe like get more money out of them. I don't know how they could work it out if money is the whole issue. Like, oh, we're not going to get our investment back if we have it go roll out on HBO Max. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they don't want HBO Max. Maybe they want to go on Disney Plus or whatever, or Netflix. See who they can get the highest bidder kind of deal. So I think it's just all about money. The smaller studio, or it could be not that they're greedy, but it just could be that they're desperate. Like maybe because they're not going to get their percentage of what they need to get back on the movie if it goes on HBO Max. So that's what I think.
Do you think DC trying to do 6 movies every year, 4 theatrically, 2 on HBO Max? Do you think are they biting off more than they can chew, or can they handle that?
Well, I think they already have that in the works. They wouldn't have announced it if they didn't have projects that were either in the can already or close to being finished. So, if they want to do it, then by all means do it. And like you also said, like a couple of them could be animated features as well that they've constantly are working on throughout the year. So
well, that was just a guess. I mean, we don't know that.
But it's a probably like a well-educated guess, and I think that for them to say that is probably because they have those features already in the pipe, and that's what they're planning on doing.
Yeah, I don't think that they've proven that they could make half of that in a year and make them quality films. If they just want to pump shit out, yeah, I mean, they can make 8 of them in a year for sure. I don't know at what point there's diminishing returns. Well, I guess the question is that a good idea? Is it a good idea? Are you hurting more by putting out more of an inferior product than if you had scaled back to say, okay, we're going to work on these 2 movies a year and try to make them good, as opposed to spreading themselves out even more thinly and getting diminishing returns on those products. I don't know. I think it's a bad idea, but I don't know that they would know a good idea if it walked in the door and smacked them in the face.
Well, they could be taking that approach, like maybe like what Blumhouse does, or the what's his face who does the Medea movies, where they do these low budget films that have like a niche audience that even though they don't make a lot of money, they still make money on them. And they could take that approach too.
Can I get a Tyler Perry Batwoman movie where he's playing Batwoman? Just make a whole series out of it. Medea's Batwoman. Oh fuck! That tickled me so much. All right. Anything else for movie news before we move on to the box office, gentlemen?
No.
All right. Well, then let's get into the box office. Box office. Box office results for Christmas weekend, December 25th through the 27th, 2020. Number 1 should be a surprise to no one. It's the movie that we're reviewing this week, Wonder Woman 1984. It made a whopping $16.7 million domestically. That is by far the biggest opening that we've had since Tenet. Number 2 was News of the World, whatever that is, at $2.2 million. Number 3, The Croods: A New Age, $1.7 million. That movie's made $30 million gross domestic. Number 4, Monster Hunter, which was last week's number 1, $1.1 million. And then number 5, a movie that I want to see, Promising Young Woman, $719,000. I wish that movie had come to some streaming service because I want to watch that one. In addition to its $16.7 million domestic, Wonder Woman also pulled in $68.7 million internationally for a total of $85.4 million opening weekend worldwide. So it's much smaller than it would have been, but that's a decent chunk for it to be releasing on HBO Max as well. Like I said, that's not internationally. HBO Max, I believe, is only in the United States. And then if you have a VPN also.
Yeah.
I was just reading this article, and maybe the numbers are wrong, because it said it made $38 million in the United States, which said it was doubled what it was predicted. But this was released 2 days ago, so I don't know. But the thing I saw was more interesting is Warner Brothers released that they saw over 10,000 private rentals, like where you go in the theater and you rent the room for you and your friends. Because I guess you have to report that as a rental or whatever. But they said they reported over 10,000 of those across it must have been globally, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at Box Office Mojo, which here at Cinema Chat Podcast is gospel as far as box office goes. So until those numbers get updated, I'm going with the 16.7 million. But could be misreported. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, and this is from CNET, and I don't know what they got. And they said they could have saved theaters, and it said it made $36 million.
Is this some sort of Screen Rant bullshit?
No, because they say this was from Warner Brothers made a release on Monday. It said the film opened to 36.1 million, which paled compared to pre-pandemic times was more than double industry estimates. Movie maker Warner Brothers said in a release on Monday.
Yeah,
so that's Warner Brothers saying, and not Box Office Mojo. So,
well,
take it for what you will.
Honestly, in that scenario, I would believe Box Office Mojo before I would believe Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
because that sounds like book cooking to me.
We actually got double what we thought.
Look how much money! Great success.
Number 3 coming next year or whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a nice segue. Should we get into our feature presentation?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And now, our feature presentation.
DC's Wonder Woman 1984, directed by Patty Jenkins, written by Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns, starring Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, The Mandalorian Pedro Pascal, Robin Wright, Connie Nielsen, Christopher Palaha, Ravi Patel, and a whole bunch of other people that I don't really know well enough to call them out in this cast. This is the sequel to, I don't remember what year Wonder Woman came out, 2017 maybe? 2018? I don't know.
2018, I think? Yeah, whatever.
I don't, it doesn't matter. It's really, I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
So, this movie came out on Christmas Day in theaters and on HBO Max. We watched it on HBO Max together. And, the first one received, I would say, better than lukewarm response. Some people really loved it. Seemed like most people were kind of middle of the road on it. So like a 7, like a quintessential 7 movie. Less people hated the first one. You don't hear a lot of hatred for it.
I didn't care for it.
Well, that's because you don't like strong women, Dawson.
False. I just don't like boring movies.
Whoa, you don't like boring movies? Well, then I'm sure you hated this one.
Sure did.
Because as boring as the first one could have been, this is bordering on the most boring superhero movie I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't want to bury the lead because I feel like at some point in this episode, we're going to talk about spoilers. And I don't want to do a spoiler zone. I just want to talk about the movie. But we're going to give you an idea of what we think about it up front, and then we'll talk about it, because I want to tell you, unless you're very interested in this movie, or unless you just really feel like you need to see it, or you want to support it, or whatever, fine. But this is a bad movie. This is not a good movie. You have someone tell you this is a good movie, you might want to question their taste or their friendship. Like, are they really your friend? Because I would say my biggest problem with this movie is that I think we literally went an hour without seeing Wonder Woman.
No, what we got was Wonder Woman for 5 minutes, and then we got a romance story with a bunch of random nonsense for an hour and a half, and then we got 5 minutes of Wonder Woman, and then we got another 40 minutes of nonsense, and then we got a 20-minute fight that nobody cared about, and then a therapy session.
Jesus Christ, a therapy session.
Like I said, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the plot, and we will spoil it. But I wanna give everyone's thoughts before people that want to watch it have it spoiled for them. I want them to hear what we all think about it.
We just told them not to listen to it. So,
well, I
told
them not to watch it. You should listen to our discussion and just not watch the movie.
Yeah, do that.
How about that? Reggie, overall thoughts?
Okay. This movie was so bad that I was mad at myself for having high hopes for it. Like, after watching this, I was like, why did I think this was gonna be good? You know, like, I'm done with DC and Warner Brothers after this. Like, I don't want to see. I was excited sort of for Black Adam, and I don't want to see that now. And when I say I'm done with them, what I mean is, if it were not for the show, the podcast that we do, I would not be seeing these movies in no way, shape, or form. Marvel has shown you how to do it, and DC has still found a way to mess it up at almost every opportunity. You know, I said on Twitter, and I still hold it to be true, that DC is the only franchise where people have arguments over which of their movies is the worst. You know, I mean, Star Wars fans argue about which of the which of the trilogies is the best, which of the, movies is the best. Star Trek will do the same, but like DC, everyone's arguing about which movie is the worst. And it's just nobody wants their movie to be the worst, but they've got every reason to explain why every other movie is the worst. And like, this one is it's polarizing because it's not a good movie. I don't understand how they got it so completely wrong. Like, the characters are all wrong. Maxwell Lord is not Maxwell Lord.
The tone, Cheetah, it's all wrong.
It's all wrong. They got nothing wrong, right? And I don't understand how you do that. It's like you have to be doing that on purpose. I don't know how they got it so wrong. It's mind-boggling to me.
Rob, you're up. What were your thoughts?
The thing about this movie, and you probably hear this a lot from me in a lot of movies, but it's always the pacing.
Probably
that's like
hear it a
lot. The first thing that hits me, like, the pacing was really, really bad in this movie. It was basically the same story from the first movie, but they just added a few things more extra to it, just to freshen it up, so to speak. And it was way too long. I think that they could have probably gotten away with maybe an hour and a half of content versus the 2.5 that we got. I think it would have been cleaner. It would have been tighter. and probably a lot more enjoyable if they did that. So if they would have fixed those three things, it would have been a much better movie. But on the other side of that, I don't think it was as bad as maybe you guys. I thought it was passable. Like, for me, like it's just below Aquaman in like the DC EU movies.
Where do you put Aquaman then?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know your scale. What's below Aquaman?
Wonder Woman 84.
What's below that?
No, like if, like like the Justice League and Batman versus Superman and the Man of Steel movies. So I would say like Aquaman is number 4, and then this movie is probably the 5th or the 6th one in whatever they put out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is an easy last place finish for DC. Other movies have been kind of a train wreck in some respects. Like Batman versus Superman is a train wreck. Justice League is a train wreck. This felt like gross negligence. I mean, it's just like you said, Reggie, like everything is wrong in this. Aside from the opening scene, which features a young Wonder Woman, a young Diana in that race, like that was legit. I liked that. That was dope. I wanted more of that. As soon as they get to Gal Gadot, this movie takes a turn for the worse. And if you're going to give me an hour plus straight of Diana instead of Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot really needs to have a fantastic performance. And for me, she's like one of the weakest actors in the film. She is not good in this. And I like watching her in movies. I've enjoyed her in other things. I felt like her performance in this movie was woeful. Just bad. She did nothing for me. I felt like she didn't convey any of the emotion of what was going on. It felt like an actor running through the motions the entire time.
I felt bad for Chris Pine having to be in this mess.
Chris Pine is a good actor.
Bad for Pedro Pascal too, because I felt like Pedro Pascal was chewing up all this. He was doing what they wanted him to do, and he was doing it so well. But like, they didn't deserve to have him in this movie.
Well, yes, he was doing the best he could with what he had, but what he had was dog shit. That character's story is terrible. It's the worst motivation for a villain. Like, people always talk about how Marvel has issues getting the villain right. Every villain that Marvel has done has had a better story than this character.
Yeah.
And we got a ton of the backstory for this. And it's all just blah. It's nothing. Yeah, he loves his kid. I get it.
You get Cheetah for like 10 minutes, and then it doesn't even matter. And everything I've seen is how big of a deal Cheetah is, and that it's like, okay.
And why is Kristen Wiig in this?
Cheetah is Wonder Woman's Joker. You know, her Lex Luthor, and what they did with Cheetah, unforgivable. Like, and then after this, Warner Brothers was like, oh yeah, we're making a third Wonder Woman movie. I'm like, why? Why? What era is she going to be? And this is another thing that bothers me. It bothered me when it was in pre-production, when we first heard that they were doing this. Like, Wonder Woman was going to be set in the 80s. And I was like, why not put her in the modern day? And it's because Wonder Woman is like Thor, in that Warner Brothers / DC doesn't know what to do with her. They don't know how to tell a story, a Wonder Woman story. So that's why they keep putting, like, again, they force people to make comparisons to Marvel movies with the stupidity that they do. Like, they didn't put Wonder Woman in World War II in the first movie because people would be like, oh, Captain America fought in World War II. And now you got someone. And then they put her in the 80s after Captain Marvel was in the 90s. It was like, why are you guys doing that? That's a stupid thing to do.
Well, not only is it a stupid thing to do, but I kind of had the feeling that it was going to go like this whenever you called the movie Wonder Woman 1984. Whenever you put the year into the title, that means that you're making the time period very important to your movie. And the way that they did that was that they periodically, for absolutely no reason whatsoever other than to remind you that it's in the 80s, they have like in your face, over the top 80s bullshit in there. Just to say,
remember Sears and JCPenney?
Yeah, just to say like, hey, we're in the 80s. Like, look at this close up at this fanny pack and the sweatsuit, and we're gonna go through this
wardrobe.
Chris Pine's gonna go through this wardrobe and try to find the best outfit, and we're gonna have parachute pants and ties and puffy shirts and all this bullshit.
And he's gonna ask questions because he's from the past, and he's gonna question fashion.
And it was just like, it was the way that they use the time period is exactly the opposite of the way that you should use it. You should set your movie in a time period because it's important to your story. You shouldn't set your movie into a time period for aesthetics, which is what they did. This movie could have been told in present day, no problem. The time period is not important to the story. It is merely there to be able to use 80s imagery and conjure up some form of nostalgia for people in their 40s.
Yeah.
And even then, like, I don't think that really hit for, I don't know, Reggie's closer to there than I am, but I didn't feel like, I've watched Stranger Things and I feel the 80s. I watch this and I see like a really shitty attempt at trying to make the 80s.
Well, see, that's what it was for me, because I was like, I lived through the 80s and like the 80s wasn't like this.
Well, I think that Reggie's absolutely right. I think that they did do this because Captain Marvel was set in the 90s. If you recall, while they were doing this movie, they did do reshoots to change it because a lot of things were similar to the Captain Marvel movie. So I think that is exactly the case that what happened. And that's also, I want you guys to know that, and I mentioned this when we were doing the watch party, that get ready because this is what the next Star Wars movie is going to be like, because she's going to be doing that Rogue Squadron movie.
Dude, you have no idea. After watching this movie, I was like, oh my God, she's doing Rogue Squadron. Like, I love Rogue Squadron. I've been wanting a Rogue Squadron movie forever. And now that it's like a monkey paw wish is going on. You know what? It's exactly like, it's like Pedro Pascal's character is for real, and he's granting me all my wishes, but he's taking so much from me.
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's your Rogue Squadron movie, but Pat Jenkins is going to direct it. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. And then, you know what, also, there's some themes in this movie that I think are like Wonder Woman, and I feel like Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, and the Wonder Woman production kind of wants Wonder Woman to be like a big thing for women and for girls, to be like, hey, this is your hero, and we're gonna do the right by her. And I feel like, from a feminist point of view, I really feel like they did really wrong by her and women and girls in general, because like, okay, and this is an argument that maybe I shouldn't be making as a dude, but just an observation, but Wonder Woman, I felt like the message of the movie was women, you can't have it all. You know, like she couldn't have the man that she loves and still have her power. She had to choose like whether she was going to be a hero or a career or whatever, or she's going to choose love. And I was like, that's not really a great message to send, I don't think.
Yeah, I'll just say this too. Like, I watched the first like 5 minutes with my kid on Christmas Day 'cause my dad was over. I'm like, hey, let's just turn this on for a minute. And she was checking it out, and she was super excited. And she's like, I'll watch. I told her I'd watch the rest of it and let her know if she could watch it. And I was like, we're not going to watch. It's boring. You're not going to watch this movie. You're not going to like it. It's boring, and it's not what I want you to watch. She's 5, so she wouldn't get half of it anyways. But I'm like, she thought it was cool. Like today, she was on the couch swinging a rope around like it was Wonder Woman, and I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. Maybe we'll watch something else. But this is no.
Well, to be fair, the first 5 minutes is amazing.
It's the best part of the movie.
it's fantastic. She saw the best of it right there.
That's what I told her. I'm like, you don't need to see the rest.
Yeah,
especially for young girls, that the beginning of the movie is like, the best part of the movie. But not to change the subject, but getting back to the whole Rogue Squadron, Patty Jenkins directing it. The only way that movie comes out good if Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni write/produce that movie. Is it going to be any good? If they have Patty Jenkins write it, direct it, then that movie is going to be garbage. Those are my thoughts.
Well, what if they have Red Leader wish that his ship was invisible in it? That could really be an advantage for the Rogue Squadron if they were able to somehow wish for their
She didn't wish.
ship.
She made it happen.
Well,
you know what?
To be
Here's
fair,
the thing. I didn't mind that bit because she was like she had been practicing it. I think either way that you
try to sell that shit.
There is no good way to come up with an invisible jet, I don't think, in this day and age. So, like, you know, I mean, they've had so many different origins for the invisible jet. So I was like, it works. It's doable. Okay, whatever. I don't argue about the Phantom Zone projector. There's some things that I just hand wave away.
This is Reggie right now. No.
Well, what was that hand motion she was doing it to do it? She was doing this.
Yeah. but
what the fuck is that?
I assume that we're in full spoiler zone now.
Yeah. If you don't want to be spoiled, turn it off. It sucks. Don't watch it. But if you're gonna watch it, go ahead.
Okay. What bugged me, and I think the biggest problem with this movie is I feel like decisions were made before the movie was created. Like they, what's the phrase? They had the horse before the cart.
Horse before the carriage, Cart before the horse,
because, like, I feel like they were like, let's bring back Chris Pine, but they didn't have a good way to bring him back. They were just like, let's bring him back, you know? And then, like, that was a stupid way to bring him back. And I was like, why bring back Chris Pine for that story? You know, where he basically quantum leaps into somebody? Like, that's stupid.
I mean, they really didn't need to do that either. Like,
No.
It's not out of the realm of possibility in these types of movies to just bring someone back, to bring them back. Like, you don't
He could have fell through a wormhole.
You don't have to do some master level explanation. Like Reggie's willing to hand wave away just about anything. You don't have to have him body snatch someone. Hire an actor so that he can snatch a body and then bang his chick immediately.
And then she meets him at the end. Like, it's a perfect story. Like, oh, I was just with you for the last week, but I didn't know it was you because I couldn't see it was you.
Yeah. And then on top of it, if you go to the comics, there's an explanation right there because in Steve Trevor was with Wonder Woman back in the 40s or whenever, when she first comes out, and then they bring him to the future by making him his like Steve Trevor's great grandson or something, who just happens to look a lot like Steve Trevor. Like they could have done that, and I think everybody would have been on board for it.
Yeah, I don't need you to do anything, really. Just bring like the smallest amount of explanation is fine. I just don't know why you have to do Invasion of the Body Snatchers and have
It's a wish.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
She fought a genie. My God, that's so stupid.
I don't understand.
There's so much that they got wrong in the comic book. It felt like nobody that was involved with this movie had ever read a Wonder Woman comic book. Because like I said, they got Maxwell Lord wrong in so many ways. Maxwell Lord is a guy who took on like the Justice League. I was saying this in the watch party, but there's one of Wonder Woman's best stories is when she has to fight Superman who's being controlled by Maxwell Lord, and then she kills Maxwell Lord because he's like, the only way I'll release control of Superman is if you kill me, and she does that, and that creates all problems. And one of the reasons that's such a great story is because, and this is something they didn't do in this movie and haven't done, is that Wonder Woman is a bit of a contradiction because she's an ambassador of peace, from her people, from Themyscira. She's an ambassador of peace, but at the same time, she's also a warrior. So, like, she is a living contradiction, and what makes her interesting is how she walks that fine line of being, peace and a pacifist, but at the same time, realizing sometimes you have to get your hands dirty. And for whatever reason, they just, it's like they don't understand who she is. She beats up Titans and gods, and we've yet to see her really do that, except for, in the first movie where she has a CGI slap fight.
Yeah, and some of the CG in this movie, quite frankly, is, we gave a lot of shit. We gave a lot of shit to Black Panther for that Black Panther Killmonger.
Oh yeah,
CGI crap fest.
The waterfall.
But there's CG in this movie that rivals the lack of quality, for lack of a better term, that we experienced in Black Panther. I mean, there's some bad CGI in this. That the lasso, which she uses for everything, doesn't look good in a lot of, like, anytime it makes contact with someone's arm or skin, like, it doesn't look good. It looks like Who Framed Roger Rabbit in Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
There's a scene where she swoops in and grabs two kids with one arm, which I'm fine with, but it looks completely ridiculous. And then to top it off, like, the problem I have with her action, I don't have a problem with her being a woman or her being extremely strong. Like, she's not even fucking human. Like, that, all that's fine. But there's absolutely no weight to any of the things that she does. It plays like fucking Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which I love that movie, but that's not what I want out of this movie. I don't want wire food that doesn't feel like it has any weight to the situation. If the action just does not play like I would want it to.
Yeah, there's this opening scene when she's in the mall and she's swinging down, and then she starts to like glide on the floor. I'm like, are you running? She takes like 3 really long strides, and then she's back up in the air. This is like the equivalent of Shia LaBeouf swinging in the trees with the monkeys, like in Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skulls. Like, it's the same thing. Like, that's what I'm getting here. That's the same vibes I get when anytime she's swinging or flying from a lightning bolt or flying in the sky.
That fast running looks like floating to me.
Yeah, it's
and then they've done the same thing with the Flash in Justice League. Like, he doesn't, like, Ezra Miller doesn't know how to run. Like, I think at this point it's got to be a stylistic thing that's how they want fast running to look like.
Well, I don't like that. Nope, don't like that.
And I think another problem for me for this movie is I don't know how Wonder Woman fits in this world, because like the beginning of the first scene at the mall, she's destroying all the cameras. So it's like she doesn't want, like, does the world not know that she exists?
That's what I took from it.
But she has nothing to cover her face at all.
Yeah.
So
the world doesn't
and
know
she's
who she is.
running around in a gold bikini thing, so it's like people don't know about Wonder Woman. But at the same time, it seems like all these people love her when she shows up, like they know who she is. So I'm like, do they not know who she is, or do they do know who she is? And then another problem with this movie is, again, this is why they need to fix their universe. This is set in the past. Did everybody forget their wishes when they gave them up? 1, 2, if nobody knows who she is, then why is everyone surprised when she shows up for Justice League or Batman vs. Superman? Like, shouldn't they know that she exists in this world? Or do they not? Like, I don't know. I just don't understand.
I mean, I think that intro was more or less like when Batman got the data. It's like there's other people of this world, and they had like some traces of her in the past, like the picture from the first movie with the whole crew, and then she's later on. So I think like they're piecing it together, and I think Batman starts to get the data, and then he's like, oh, I got to get in touch with her.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she has some sort of complete Earth neuralizer situation.
Mm.
Look
also,
at the red light.
The whole plot of to get the wishes back, everybody has to renounce their wish. So every single person on the planet has to renounce their wish for whatever she's trying to accomplish. So you're telling me
that's not going to happen. We can't get people putting masks on.
There's
not
somebody who's just
giving up their wish.
Somebody who just got their dream of having as much money as they could ever have. He's not giving that back up. Or the guy who's like, I wish you would die at the counter. You can't resuscitate her. That's just because she's dead. You're not going to bring her back. Like, there's just so many things in there. I'm like, this is stupid. You can't reverse this shit. Half the stuff you can't reverse.
Yeah, dude. This movie doesn't do a good job of explaining most of the things it sets up. What's going on with 80% of the plot points? Why is there? What's the Wish Rock? What is that? Why do we have it? What are we doing with it? Why?
I guess that comes from the comic books, and there was a different person who created it.
They don't do a great job of explaining how, the negative of the wish. There's an equal opposite reaction to your wish and shit. They don't do a good job of explaining what Pedro Pascal's character is doing for about 20 minutes after he decides he's going to roam around the earth gathering up wishes from powerful people.
All the oil.
I mean, it's like the laziest of motivations for his character.
And I thought he could like see the future, but then he couldn't see the future. Was that not a thing?
I don't know.
When he first absorbed the rock, he's like, "Oh, but you're not going to do this," and then he's like, he's like, I don't know. I felt like he could see the future, and that's why he got the whole oil. But then he could grant wishes. Whatever.
Yeah.
And like I said,
I didn't understand why he was dying. Like, it seemed like every time he granted a wish, it would kill him or something. They didn't really explain why that was happening.
See, I'm glad I'm not the only one that doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Because they don't explain it.
The bigger the wish, the more it took.
Right. But
yeah, I thought they were gonna go into like the whole like Greek pantheon, like how they somewhat did in the first movie. Some background is like why and who and what's going on, and they didn't address that at all. Like it's just like, well, maybe we get everybody to give back their wishes, or kill this guy or that guy. It was just dumb. Just like Brent said, it's a dumb premise.
Yeah, because like when they mentioned the god of mischief, I was like, oh, she's gonna fight another god. This is gonna be fun. And we get to the end, and it's a therapy session where she's like, don't you love your son? You don't have to do this. And he's like, you know what? I do love my son. I'm not going to do this. I was like,
get the fuck out of here.
Could you imagine if Superman talked down Zod? If he was just like, hey, Zod, why don't you not do this on this planet? Go somewhere else. And Zod was like, yeah, let's do this. That would be so lame.
Dude, I mean, And let's make a superhero movie where we're going to show you the superhero for about 18% of the movie, maybe if you're lucky. And at the end of it, we're going to undo everything. Nothing's going to have mattered in this situation. And it's not going to make sense for what we've already done down the line in the timeline. Right. So let's fuck up A, B, and C before we get to D. It's.
But they're going to put out 6 movies a year. Okay.
Can't wait.
I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking, because I know we've shit all over it, like considerably. And I wanted to wrap up the episode with like things that we liked about it, like try to find a silver lining. And I'm struggling because even the things that I would like about it, Chris Pine, Pedro Pascal, Kristen Wiig, like there's people in this movie that I like, people that I enjoy in other things. But they're given such a shit script or miscast altogether that there's really very little that I can take from this. It's like a positive. The only positive I can really pull from it is the first 5 minutes of the movie. Because I did really enjoy that. And I thought whenever we got through that, I was like, oh man, I'm going to like this. This is going to be good. It's going to be great.
But even then, that guy went from robbing a bank to robbing a jewelry store to let me commit murder.
Not that part. The little girl going through the race. The race part.
Oh, the race. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, before they get to the 80s. Everything in the 80s is shit.
I feel like they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. Like they're like, let's bring back Robin Wright. But they didn't because they killed her. Which was a mistake.
I don't know. I mean, I know Dawson and Reggie, you might have trouble pulling a positive out. But Rob, I think you're a little higher on it than the rest of us. Tell us what you did like about it.
Well, like you mentioned, like some of the actors were really good in there. But it's not their fault that the writing and directing is subpar. That first scene where we have some background about which sets up the premise for the whole movie, but it didn't convey it very well about, there's no, to achieve anything, it's hard work, you can't take shortcuts kind of deal. That was what they were trying to convey with that setup in the beginning. But other than that, it was just like a mishmash of like left, right, and center, didn't know which way it was going kind of deal. And there's not much to like, so that's pretty much not a good thing. We needed more Wonder Woman, less hey, we're in the 80s, check us out kind of deal. Like I mentioned before, I feel bad for Chris Pine and Kristen Wiig being in this, and Pedro Pascal too. But I think, also what happens with this film is like this film happened, or I should say was started before they learned their lesson with the Joker movie. So I think that if they would have started production after the Joker movie, they would have said, well, hey, we need some, more realism and not, Marshmallow Puff type of movie, and made it more grittier, or maybe set it in the present day and not in the early 80s, and gone in a different direction. So I I mean, I'm hoping that this is like the last, kind of DC film that they do, and then like anything that they do after this, which that's what I'm hoping that the Robert Pattinson Batman movie is gonna go down. Is that like, hey, we learned our lesson, and now we're gonna be rolling out these type of movies. So, if this is like where they, turn the corner and change directions in the movie, like, okay, lesson learned. But if they don't learn their lesson and then like they roll out the next Shazam movie or Black Adam movie and it's the same shit as this, then I'm in the same boat as you, Reggie, and I'm done with these DC Warner Brother movies.
Yeah, they haven't shown me anything to make me believe that they're going to correct course. I just don't. I don't have faith in them. I'm only excited about the Batman movie, and that's because I love Batman, and you guys know I like Robert Pattinson. So put a couple of those things together, and I'm excited to see what they have. Will it shock me if it's not good? No, not at all. But I'm hoping it's good. But I'm not going to allow myself to be surprised if it's not good.
For the Batman movie to be good, does it have to be better than this, or does it have to be better than the Christopher Nolan?
No, it just has to be in between.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Nolan level. It's not. There's no way it's not. I feel like Nolan did about the best version of a live action Batman movie that can be made at the studio level. I wouldn't hold anybody to that standard because those films are fantastic. But
the director of the Batman movie is the same guy who did his name for I can't remember right now. Who also did the Planet of the Apes movies?
Matt
Reeves.
Reeves, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I love that trilogy.
If he can invoke like the fear and emotion that he was able to pull off in those movies with this DC property that pretty much everybody loves, and give us that Dark Knight that we've been wanting all along, then I think it'll definitely be better than the Nolan trilogy.
You got to back down,
but
because you're setting yourself up for nothing but disappointment.
Well, he's writing, directing this film, so I'm hoping that he doesn't fall into the same bullshit that all these other movies have gone through, and we do get, a jewel out of the pile of crap that has been rolling out of the studio for the last few years.
I mean, I appreciate your optimism, but I think anytime you sort of go into a movie with the hope that it's better than one of the best comic book movies you've had in the last 20 years, that's a tall mountain to climb. And, we've talked about this before. Life's all about expectations. So I'm carefully giving myself doses of realism in this situation.
We still got a couple of years before that rolls around anyway. So
here's a quick hot take. I think the Nolan movies, Batman movies, with the exception of Dark Knight, are slightly overrated. I think that especially Batman Rises, Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises is not as good as the other two. It's not even close. Like, I'll agree with you on that. Okay. But as a trilogy, I think it's pretty good. I think
the trilogy gets a lot of the weight from the trilogy, and a lot of the goodwill comes from the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
but I don't know if the whole trilogy.
Dark Knight is the standout. Dark Knight's the standout, 100%. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. But Batman Begins is still really fucking good.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'll say so. Like, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that this Robert Pattinson movie is as good as the Nolan movie.
Right.
It's not going to be as good as Dark Knight, but maybe it's as good as Batman Begins or Dark Knight Rises.
But what if it's not? What if
I mean, if it's
I mean, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
We saw a trailer and I was like, yeah, 84 might be kind of cool, and then it was a pile of shit, and like,
Yeah.
I'm not setting myself up for that kind of heartbreak. I won't do it. I refuse to do it. I won't let you two talk me into it, and shame on you for trying to get my hopes up.
Should we go around and give our scores then?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's give our scores. Who wants to go first?
Doesn't.
I'll
go.
First.
Okay, go ahead, Reggie.
No, go ahead.
All right. This movie was.
You
not
go
good.
first. You go first.
It was so damn boring. I can't recommend anybody watch it unless you want to watch a train wreck. Don't make a superhero movie that's 2.5 hours long and give me a half an hour maybe of action. It's bad. I wanted to show this to my daughter eventually. I'm not going to show it to her because it's just bad. Like Reggie said, it doesn't have the themes we really want necessarily our girls to go on. They fell in love 80 years ago or 60 years ago and they never got over it. And she's willing to give away everything just for that. Like, all right, that's not cool. This movie sucks. It's a 1.
Oof.
I'm not holding punches. This movie was terrible. I'll never watch it again. I won't tell anyone to ever watch it. I will tell her this is the worst superhero movie. This is worse than Daredevil. This is worse than Elektra. This is the worst superhero movie I've ever seen.
Worse than Catwoman?
I've never seen it, but I'm sure Catwoman has some redeeming qualities to it.
It's not worse than Catwoman.
Okay. So
here's the thing.
The worst I've seen.
You know what? Let me go with my review. Is it the worst superhero movie? Maybe. And here's the reason why. I was thinking it's definitely the worst DC movie, and here's why. Was not the biggest fan of Suicide Squad. I think that before this movie, Suicide Squad was the worst with a bullet. What Suicide Squad has over this movie is there are at least great moments in Suicide Squad. There are things in Suicide Squad that are fun to watch. Diablo getting his power, some Deadshot scenes are amazing. The soundtrack, crazy as it is, kind of works for that movie. But in Wonder Woman, there is not a scene that is worth rewatching. It is 2 hours and 30 minutes of boring, meandering plot. It is not good. The themes are bad. There's weird stuff about consent in this movie as well that we didn't really talk about. And again, the characterization of Wonder Woman is beyond, it's criminal. Nobody should be allowed to make movies again that was involved in this. It is so bad. It is easily a 1.
You bet your ass it is.
I mean, I don't even know what I can say after that.
That's why I'm glad I went before Reggie.
I mean, I was gonna give it a 1.5 just because I felt like there had to be some form of movie making on a technical level. The film was in focus. Do they get credit for that? Anything? I mean, I really,
their name right.
I honestly hated this movie, and I don't know how many times I've said that particular word about a movie on this show, but I really did hate it. I didn't have fun. I had fun watching it because I was able to shit on it with other people. If I had watched this in the theater by myself,
I would have been so mad.
It would have been a miserable experience. I can't imagine watching a second of this movie ever again. And I'll join you in solidarity in giving it a 1 because I don't think there's a redeeming thing about this. You know what? No. I'm going to give it a 1.5 because I did really love that first 5 minutes. I love that
You're not
opening
gonna watch
scene.
it. You're not gonna watch it 5 minutes again, though.
I mean, it's a 1.5, Dawson. I'm not exactly giving it a 7.
Okay.
Someone's got to go above a 1. Rob, what do you have?
What did Reggie give it?
A 1.
We have a 1, a 1, and a 1.5. So
Well,
beat that.
Like I mentioned earlier, the movie is too long. The pacing is really bad. And number 3, the writing, directing, Patty Jenkins probably got fired after this movie. That's why she hopped over to Disney.
No, she's making the third one. They rehired her for a third movie.
They should refire her.
Refire.
Bullshit. Yeah.
They should fire her, hire her back, and then fire her again. Patty Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins, you're out of here. and don't mess up Star Wars. Like I mentioned before, the first scene where we get some background of the Diana character was good. Getting the introduction of Maxwell Lord, Pedro Pascal's character, and also Kristen Wiig's character was good. But then from after that, like the second and third act was all hot garbage, and they went overboard on the 80s time period. It was like, how, even you said it in there, like how much 80s bullshit are they gonna roll out just to set the time period? A lot of this movie was unnecessary. Where they needed to do more, they didn't do enough, and where they didn't need, they did too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to go as low as you guys, because I do think that at least the first act had some redeemable qualities, and that's why I'm going to give this movie a 4.
40%.
40%.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to have to redo my quick movie review for VenChat, because I think I was kind of out of sorts when I did it, and I gave it a higher number, so I'm gonna have to redo it.
Let me translate that. We talked him out of his score during this episode. I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with that phenomenon because I've done that to Reggie a few times.
Yes. Yeah. I think it was just like, hey, I saw a new movie, and it was good to see a new movie, kind of thing, and it's kind of like being punch drunk.
I get that.
Like you don't know what's going on, kind of deal. So That's why I have to recant my my initial rating of this film.
I get that. It's part of the, we used to do these whenever we were going to the theaters. We would see the movie on Thursday night, and then we would review it on Friday or Saturday. And honestly, I know that it pushes us back a week, but I feel like I kind of like this better because it does give us the opportunity to sort of sit with something for 5 days or so before we talk about it, because that can happen. Like immediately after watching something, you can sort of have, rose-colored glasses, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, a great example, I watched this Christmas, and afterwards I was like, this was such a good movie. But then a couple of days later, I was like, now that I think about it.
So, next week we're going to be reviewing a Pixar movie. Soul. We're going to be talking about that next week. Hopefully you all will come back to join us. Rob, good to have you back, buddy.
Thanks, guys. It's good to be back. And I'm looking forward to being back every week from now on.
Whoop, whoop.
Nice.
All right. Anyone else have anything to say before we get out of here?
Merry New Year.
Merry New Year.
You don't need to follow me. You don't need to follow anybody.
But you can follow us. I'm Brent, and I am
X, not Malcolm.
And he's Rob, and he's
Rob 1.
There's also Reggie, who is
Hidden.
We can't forget about Dawson at
Andy!
_. Dawson.
Don't forget to follow the podcast at CinemaChatPod on Twitter. And check out our website, cinemachatpodcast.podbean.com.
I'm following you now. I'm just going to follow you everywhere. I'm just going to follow you the rest of my life.
Thanks, Peter. Now, if the rest of you would get off your ass and follow us, that would be great.
Mail, motherfucker.
Oh, and don't forget to send your emails to cinemachatpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Please, send us something. Have a good week, everyone. Goodbye.
Reggie, did you really say that everyone involved with this should never be able to make a movie again? It seemed a little harsh, if you ask me.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.